On a scorching August afternoon in 1914, the idyllic rolling hills of Spring Green, Wisconsin, became the backdrop for one of the most savage and unfathomable massacres in American history, shattering the sanctuary that architect Frank Lloyd Wright had built as a testament to his creative freedom and forbidden love. Remember to comment, like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of the Calendar of Crime. Before you carry on with the story, the roots of this tragedy trace back to the turbulent events of 1909, when Frank Lloyd Wright abandoned his architectural practice in Oak Park, Illinois, and his wife and 6 children to elope with Mamah Borthwick Cheney, the sophisticated wife of a wealthy client. Their scandalous affair ignited a firestorm of sensationalized tabloid headlines and Victorian moral outrage across the United States, driving the couple into self-imposed exile in Europe before they returned to Wright's native Wisconsin. Seeking refuge from the suffocating judgment of polite society, Wright purchased land from his mother's family in the lush valley of the Wisconsin River and began constructing Taliesin, a sprawling, organic stone and wood estate whose name derived from a Welsh bard meaning shining brow. Taliesin was meant to be an architectural manifesto of harmony with nature, a secluded paradise where Wright and Mamah could live openly and pursue their artistic visions without the prying eyes and condemnation of conventional neighbors. Yet beneath the breathtaking beauty of the limestone terraces and sloping roofs, tensions simmered within the household staff, who were tasked with maintaining the sprawling estate and catering to Wright's demanding temperament. Among these employees was Julian Carlton, a 32-year-old man from Barbados, who worked as a cook alongside his wife Gertrude, who served as a domestic laborer. In the weeks leading up to the final catastrophe, Carlton had exhibited signs of profound mental instability and mounting paranoia, frequently brooding in isolation and expressing deep grievances against his employers and fellow workers. By the middle of August 1914, relations between Carlton and the household had deteriorated to a breaking point, fueled by petty disputes over daily chores, rumored racial tensions, and the looming reality of impending dismissal. According to subsequent testimonies from surviving staff members, Mamah Borthwick had informed the Carltons that their services were no longer required and that they were scheduled to take a train back to Chicago that very evening, a pronouncement that may have served as the immediate catalyst for Carlton's unhinged retaliation. On Saturday, August 15, 1914, Frank Lloyd Wright was miles away in Chicago, overseeing the construction of Midway Gardens, leaving Mamah, her 2 visiting children, 11-year-old John and 8-year-old Martha, and a crew of workmen gathered in the dining room for the midday meal. As the midday sun beat down on the estate, Carlton executed a meticulously planned ambush, locking the exterior doors from the outside and positioning containers of gasoline around the perimeter of the living quarters before igniting the structure. As flames engulfed the dining room, chaos erupted instantly inside the sealed enclosure, forcing terrified occupants to scramble for barred exits and shattered windows as thick, toxic smoke filled the hallways. Fritz Licht, a young draftsman sitting near a window, managed to smash the glass, jump to the courtyard, and roll down the hillside to extinguish his burning clothing, becoming one of the few eyewitnesses to the unspeakable horror unfolding outside. As victims broke through windows or attempted to flee the blazing inferno, Julian Carlton waited with a razor-sharp roofing hatchet, systematically striking down anyone who emerged from the smoke and flames. Mamah Borthwick and her young son John were killed instantly in the courtyard, while her daughter Martha fell victim to the carnage alongside master carpenter Billy Weston and landscape gardener David Lindblom, who later succumbed to his severe burns. In a matter of agonizing minutes, 7 human lives were brutally extinguished by the rampaging handyman, leaving behind a raging inferno that consumed 1/3 of the sprawling residential wing. Carlton retreated into the darkness of the basement and crawled inside the large masonry furnace, where he swallowed a quantity of muriatic acid in a desperate attempt to end his own life. When local townspeople and volunteer firefighters arrived following a frantic dash to the nearest telephone, they discovered the catastrophic extent of the ruin and the charred remains of the architectural sanctuary. Julian Carlton was pulled alive from the furnace hours later, severely burned and horribly injured by the acid, but still breathing, and was immediately placed under heavy guard in the Dodgeville jail. Yet justice in a court of law was never served, as Carlton slipped into a silent, defiant decline, refusing food and water while withering away in his cell, until he finally died of starvation, approximately 7 weeks after the massacre. The news of the Taliesin massacre reverberated across the globe with sickening speed, plunging Frank Lloyd Wright into a bottomless despair as he returned to Wisconsin to bury Mamah Borthwick in a quiet, private ceremony. Tabloid newspapers and judgmental public commentators cruelly seized upon the tragedy as divine retribution for Wright and Borthwick's defiance of Victorian social mores, relentlessly labeling the estate the Love Cottage, even as its ashes smoldered, despite the crushing weight of grief and the profound physical destruction of his dream home. Frank Lloyd Wright ultimately chose resilience over despair, vowing to rebuild Taliesin from the ashes as a monument to Mamah Borthwick's memory and his own indomitable creative spirit. The tragedy left an indelible, haunting scar upon the landscape of Spring Green, forever linking one of history's greatest architectural masterpieces with a terrifying explosion of human violence and sorrow. Thanks for watching. Please comment, share, like, and subscribe for future episodes from the Calendar of Crime.